Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review The Cello, and this new horror film from Saudi Arabia, but oddly directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, who directed Repo, the genetic opera, and Saw 2 and Spiral. So, not quite 100% Saudi Arabian film. It also has Jeremy Irons and Tobin Bell in it. But this is written by Turki Al-Asik and focuses on Nasir, played by Samir Ismail, who is an aspiring cellist and buys this cello that has a lot of baggage. Ghosts, maybe the devil, all kinds of fun stuff attached to it, and every time he plays it, people mutilate each other. Fun time. And this particular film is 2 hours, and it feels it. It feels it. The pacing of this film is really off, and maybe because this has more slow motion in it than a Zack Snyder movie, which it certainly does, because every chance there's a scare or a big emotional moment or something bad happens to somebody, which happens a lot in this particular film, it's all in slow motion. And after a while, it feels kind of campy and silly. But the thing is, this film is serious as a heart attack. Or at least it's trying to be. So tonally, it's all messed up. Pacing-wise, it just is a slog. And it's really hard to sit through for the sustained amount of time for the whole 2 hours of this film. And sure, there's definitely moments that have some good scares. The visuals are haunting and unnerving. These ghosts are grotesque and disturbing. There's some really disgusting body horror that winds up happening, and human mutilation. So those things, yeah, they're horrific, and they work in that way. Except every time Nasir is, for like the first 2/3 of this movie, tempted to play this cello, he just sees like floating head of Jeremy Irons and the weird green aura, and you're just like, this is hard to take seriously. And unfortunately, it is hard to take seriously for a decent chunk of this movie. It's also convoluted in the fact that, like, you have layers of antagonists here, and are all of them really antagonists? And while this film takes so much time setting this all up, and the script really leaning into so many obnoxious scenes of exposition, that it just kind of turns into a lack of caring about what's really going on, and a lack of satisfying closure, especially when so many of these characters act in the most idiotic ways, where it's like very obvious, get away from him when he plays his cello, and then all of his friends and family insist on being there, and then horrible things happen, and then you're just like, no duh. And this film, I feel like a lot of the Arab actors in this film, because this is a Saudi Arabian film, I feel like a lot of them do struggle, especially when the film in the third act really shifts to like almost all speaking in English. And also, there's moments where some of the actors are overacting like crazy, and it just comes off as silly and absurd. And then you have Tobin Bell, who doesn't really do much of anything in this movie, and you're kind of like, why is he here? But Jeremy Irons, once he actually shows up in person instead of just like floating manipulative head man, he chews scenery. He is like chewing that, like grab an ear or corn and just chew every single bit of it. And he's having a blast. And I'm like, wow, took until the third act for this movie to really have some like energy about it. And then overall, when it all comes down to it, this feels like a bit of a schlocky, messy kind of experience that doesn't really add up to much. And it has potential. It has an interesting concept of like, you know, sell your soul to be really good at an instrument, evil instrument, that Robert Johnson kind of story, Devil at the Crossroads. And, you know, it gives an interesting perspective, taking it to a different country and a different culture. But it never really capitalizes on all that. And in the end, it just feels like a hodgepodge mess of a film that doesn't really deliver in the ways that it's trying to. But those are my thoughts on the Cello. Let me know what you think and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.